And good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Bruce, we are barreling into Game 2, Nuggets against Oklahoma City. I never thought I'd be saying they have a chance to take a commanding 2-0 lead in this series. Did you ever think that that was honestly going to be the case?
No.
Specifically with the Nuggets playing 2 days earlier?
No, absolutely not. Consider the things that were working against them, the quick turnaround, all of the things. I mean, being able to not even catch their breath after the win against the Clippers. But they ended up playing, as you and I talked about yesterday, and almost, I don't want to say a perfect game, but they did what was absolutely necessary in terms of staying close, staying within range for that very rare opportunity that sometimes you get late in a game when maybe you've been outplayed through most of it. And I think that we can agree that Oklahoma City outplayed the Nuggets through most of that game. What, 90% of that game? I think it was fairly clear. But at crunch time, when you had to make plays, they opened the door, the Nuggets stepped through, and here we are now playing with house money going into game number 2. But like you just said, with an unbelievable opportunity to get up 2-0, coming home for 2 against the number 1 seed in the West. It's been pretty remarkable. By the way, all the road teams are winning so far in the Eastern and the Western semifinals. It's been odd. How about Minnesota last night, Eric? A team that both of us like, but you've really championed them, and rightfully so. I think that they're a team that has some championship. They don't have any championship medal yet, but you could see them in the Western Final, certainly scoring 31 points at home last night to Golden State, who was without Steph Curry because of a hamstring in the first half, and still just basically opening up a can. And then, of course, Tyrese Halliburton with the last-second heroics for the Pacers in Cleveland. Wow, the top seed down 0-2 already in the East. So who knows what happens tonight with the Nuggets in Oklahoma City.
By the way, if you'd like to watch big games in great sports bars, highly recommend you go to the Sportsbook Bar and Grill. You can find them in the DTC, also in Highlands Ranch. Both of those bars are my bars when I want to watch sports. The one in Highlands Ranch right around the corner from my house. Both places have outstanding food. You really want to go to a sports bar that is built by sports fans. And Judson and Jeremy and John are enormous sports fans. So if you could build your own sports bar, this is what you would build, because that's what they built. Go find them. DTC, Highlands Ranch, and coming soon to Parker. Time now for The Lead.
The Lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Before the end of yesterday's show, you said you liked the matchup because it is about matchups in a lot of ways, specifically in the NBA playoffs. You like the Nuggets matchup against Oklahoma City better than you like the one against the Clippers. Why?
All right. First of all, let me be consistent here. It's slightly better. I think anytime that you have a matchup that Nikola Jokic wins convincingly, you're in a much better position. Zubac had a very difficult effect on Nikola Jokic. He's not an impossible matchup, and Jokic proved that through the 7-game series with the Clippers. But he is a difficult matchup, and he's a difficult matchup in man-to-man. He takes things away just because of his physicality. Oklahoma City doesn't have that. They've got 2 very good big men, but very different kinds of big men than Zubac was and is for the Clippers. So that in and of itself, if you give Nikola Jokic a better matchup, it's already, for me, a better matchup for the Nuggets. Then I'll add a couple of things to it. They aren't as physical as the Clippers. They're a different kind of team. They're very good defensively. That goes without saying. They've been statistically the best defensive team in the NBA. We're talking about the Thunder here right now, but they aren't as physical, and they don't have the two alpha males. So they've got one huge alpha male, and they've got great players. Don't get me wrong. We talked about Caruso yesterday with great respect, and that's a guy coming off the bench. So don't get me wrong on that. And there's a reason that they finished 18 games ahead of the Nuggets. So let's not get crazy with this. All I'm saying is the lack of without the physicality and the strength, which I think the Clippers used to their advantage, especially defensively. They just beat teams up. There's a little bit more subtlety in the way that Oklahoma City plays. And they don't have the two alphas like you had in LA with the Clippers. You've got one huge one that's more than likely going to be the MVP. And I like the Jokic matchup. So that's the case that I've got. Take it for what it's worth.
No, I think it's a really good case. What concerns me, it's a really good case. What concerns me is the Nuggets remaining aggressive driving to the hole. I think that Russell Westbrook set the tone that he is going to lay his shoulder driving into the lane on Holmgren, no matter how big he is. He drives through guys, all right? So if Zubac was a 2x4, doing the math, that's a half, all right? Then you have Hartenstein, and then you also have the other big guy, Chet.
Yep.
They are 1x8s. They're not as thick, right?
Right.
So when you have Jokic backing up one of those guys, it's a lot easier than a guy his size. I'm with you on that. But when it comes to blocking shots, that is a big problem.
You're right.
They had 11 of them. For as good as the Clippers are defensively, specifically with Dunn and specifically with Kawhi Leonard, I'm with you there. Dort is terrific. Caruso is terrific.
Yep.
But what concerns me about this team is, yet we haven't seen it yet, is the bench. Meaning the Nuggets have figured out a way to play with just 7 guys. And it's really just kind of 7.5 guys.
Yeah.
Or I should say 6.5 guys. Because Peyton Watson is getting, 10 to maybe 15 minutes a game. And you really just wonder when the Nuggets are going to run out of gas. Or maybe they won't. The one thing that is going to hurt them that you will not see in the box score, potentially, is what you will see on the schedule every other day.
Yeah.
It's not like they're getting a bunch of rest in between games, things that we've seen in the past. I think that, to me, is something to keep an eye on as we move forward. But as we look into tonight's game, I don't know, what's the most least likely outcome, Bruce? The Nuggets winning or the Thunder blowing out the Nuggets?
Least likely.
Least likely.
Well, since it's tough to define what a blowout is, I'm going to go with the blowout. I mean,
10 points. Like in game 1.
Yeah, 10.5 points they're favored by. Okay. I think the blowout is less likely. I think the Nuggets will be competitive. I think that they will be in this game. I think that's kind of who they are becoming in these playoffs. So I will go with that. I don't know how much, how confident I am in that. But if you're asking me one or the other, I can see a road for the Nuggets to be up 2-0 after this. I know that sounds, and I'm not trying to be flippant or overconfident, but I can see a road for them.
Well, of course you can see a road.
Yeah. I mean, I can see a path.
Okay. Well,
yeah. You shoot a high percentage. That's a great place to start. If you shoot a high percentage, that's a great place to start. But can the Nuggets be the better team in this series? Can they be the better? They weren't. Look, they were the winning team. Were they the better team in game 1? I think the answer to that is no. I don't think they were the better team. In fact, the 2 days later that we're still wondering how the hell the Nuggets won that game with 18 turnovers, by the way. And there are statistical reasons why, and we talked about them yesterday. More has to happen for the Nuggets to win. They're playing a team that was 18 games better than them in the regular season. But remember, they've now won 3 of the 5 matchups between them and Oklahoma City during the season. No, my point is that, no, don't shake your head. Don't shake your head, because here's my point. And now you roll your eyes.
Well, I'm rolling my eyes on a regular season.
My point is the matchups have been good enough for them to have been in. They lost 6 games at home, 7 now. The Thunder, I mean, the Nuggets have 2 of them. I'm only saying this to enhance whatever conversation we're having about the potential of matchups. That's all I'm saying. Oklahoma City is the better team in this series. They may not be the winning team. And there are other reasons. I mean, what about the Nuggets' championship pedigree? I mean, what about Oklahoma City trying to take the second step? They took one last year that some people might have been surprised at. Are they ready to take the final step? There are things that we don't know about the Thunder yet. So I do think there are things that we know about the Nuggets. They've got a thinner margin for error, no question. But, I mean, hey, how does this thing start to look if they get this game tonight?
Right. To me, and I might be simplifying this way too much. Obviously, the key is how Jokic plays, and then how does Murray shoot, and yada, yada. I think the thing to watch for me, and I'm just looking at the history of these playoffs so far, when Russell Westbrook has shot 50% or better from the floor, the Nuggets have won all of their games with the exception of one.
Yeah.
He's their key bench guy. Shit, he's their only bench guy. So he better hit 50%. Because if he doesn't, first of all, Michael Porter Jr. is literally now, and sadly, a non-factor. Watching Michael Porter Jr. on the floor was kind of like watching your dog be tied to a fence post and kicked by all the neighborhood kids. It was sad to watch. He looked lost. He looked like a guy whose head wasn't in the game. His shots were way off. I know that he's dealing with a shoulder.
Yeah.
You look back in the Clippers series, he had a really bad game 1, and then he bounced back. You know, if there's I think that you might have more trade value in your mid-60s than he does in the NBA. Maybe he's a pickleball player. I don't know about basketball.
Oh, well, now
let's go basketball.
Thank you for the thinly veiled slap. Yeah. Here's my deal with MPJ, and this is with respect, and I do respect somebody trying to play through pain. It's clear that this is affecting him adversely. Yeah. And what is becoming more clear is that it's now affecting adversely the Nuggets. If you could guarantee me right now, and you can't, but if you could, the 11 points, 5.5 rebounds for 32 minutes a game that he averaged in the series against the Clippers, I would take that gladly. If you could guarantee me that. But Eric, this matchup is different. He played 24 minutes, very telling minutes. He was 1 for 8 from the floor. He had one of the most enraging moments of the game on a rebound. It was somewhere in the second half, and I marked it down. I should have noted it more directly, where he basically tried to one-arm a rebound. It was stripped away, and a 3-point basket ensued, totally unnecessarily for Oklahoma City. David Adelman has to ask himself the question, and I'm sure he has. I'm sure he does, probably pretty continually. Are we a better team with him in the lineup?
What are your options, Bruce?
Yeah, I hear you. You've got two options and only two options.
Okay, here, listen. When the Nuggets roll out their starting five tonight, and Michael Porter Jr. will likely be in the starting lineup.
Sure.
It's 5-on-4.
Yes.
On both ends of the floor.
Yeah.
Now, let's just for fun throw in the Nuggets bench, which is pretty much non-existent. The fact that the Nuggets won the game with only 5 guys, that's it. They're starting 4, right? You have Jokic, Murray, Gordon, Brown, and probably I would just throw in Westbrook. That's it. MPJ gave you nothing. Strother got, some nice time in there. Peyton Watson had a nice block, but he's really not overly effective. The Nuggets are playing 5 guys against a bench that played 77 minutes. That's what they're going to be facing moving forward, along with a schedule that is every other day. So what they are doing as a team, really with 5 guys, is remarkable. It's kind of like a hockey team playing, 80% of its game shorthanded, and the other team is on the power play.
I am wondering, and you, I think, would probably lean towards Westbrook in this scenario, but I will repeat a scenario from last week. What's wrong with starting Peyton Watson if you are getting nothing out of Michael Porter Jr.? And I mean nothing. And you've got to get to that point, right, Eric? I mean, yep. David Adelman has to get to that point where he says, we are not a better team with him on the floor. I hate having this conversation, but it is what it is right now. The delicacy of where Russell Westbrook is right now.
I'm going to give you your reason.
I love him coming off the bench. I think for me, that's my feeling. I know it's not for you.
No, but for a very different reason. For the same reason that Tyronn Lue pulled Chris Dunn off the floor in the second half for Batum. Batum gives you the threat of a 3-point shot. Peyton Watson doesn't give you any threat. And because of that, your defense is not going to be stretched. With Michael Porter Jr., you have to keep an eye on him. Now, granted, you don't really have to man him up because he pretty much stands in a corner. But the truth is, there is always that threat that is there. With Peyton Watson, there is no threat at all. He does play defense, and that's fine. But again, it's like Mike Shanahan throwing Terrell Davis out on the field with a migraine. The threat, they're going to run the ball. That's why I think Michael Porter Jr. is still out there. And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe he does go off for a couple of threes in a short stretch. And you say, thank you very much for those minutes. We really appreciate it. Russ, go in for the rest of the game. Yeah. You're going to get what you can. But you at least have to keep the defense honest as well. There is no reason to cover Peyton Watson. None. Is there?
I mean, you got to account for 5 guys, but no, your point is good.
It's kind of like what it was with Aaron Gordon last year.
Yeah.
And even this year and even in the playoffs. And now, the Clippers found this out, and certainly the Thunder found this out at the end of the game. You might want to cover Aaron Gordon at the 3-point line. You just might want to shade him a little bit closer. I know that he could bully by guys too and roll them over, but he has improved his 3-point shot enough that you have to give him a little bit more respect. If you don't want to, the history suggests this year, do it at your own risk. It's the same thing with Russell Westbrook. They're go ahead, fire it up. Again, it's like Little League Baseball. Kid comes to the plate. All right, bring the outfield in. Bring him up to second base because this kid's not hitting over anybody's head.
Right.
Westbrook is now showing in the playoffs his shooting is better, right? But with Peyton Watson, you're gonna leave him at the 3-point stripe, open it up where there is a zip code between him and the hoop. You're not guarding him at all. And he's not going to make it either because he has shown no consistency at all.
No consistency.
So with that, for Nikola Jokic, who always makes the right play, always wants to hit the open guy, Peyton Watson is always going to be open. Do you want Jokic to continue to make that pass?
Well, I mean,
do you?
Look, 1 for 8's 1 for 8, and that's I mean, this all boils down to what are you getting out of Michael Porter Jr. What I'm hearing is hold on. What I'm hearing is a threat. A threat.
Yep.
I don't know if he's much of a threat right now.
You have to make the Thunder think. And he has a history of hitting a lot of 3-pointers.
Yeah.
He has a history of going on a hot streak.
Yep.
It's kind of like when Peyton Manning was injured in 2015 before he went out at the end of the regular season. For as bad as he was, and he was not a good football player because of injury. I'm guessing for every single defensive coordinator, they had to take that game plan seriously because they're thinking, well, it's still Peyton Manning. Now, Peyton Manning and Michael Porter Jr., two different cats.
Right.
I get that.
Right.
But Michael Porter Jr., when he hits his first one, he might hit a few more. Now, if the Nuggets lose this game and get blown out, right, then let's see what the adjustment might be, specifically if Michael Porter Jr. doesn't play well. If he has a similar game tonight than he did in game 1, then you might have to make that adjustment to Peyton Watson. But tonight, I leave in Michael Porter Jr., have an intervention with him, right? Burn some candles and incense and just get him in the headspace. Just go out there and knock down a couple of threes early for us.
Here is the only pushback, and it's not even pushback because I think you're right. They will go with Michael Porter Jr. tonight, and they'll go with Michael Porter Jr. tonight for the very reasons that you specified. At some point, the question will be asked, do we trade what we're getting out of Michael Porter Jr. for a defensive lockdown guy that can rebound? Give up the points, give up the threat.
Yeah.
I think the question will be asked at some point in this series, and it's a little thing because it's just about minutes played and who's on the floor and when they're on the floor. I will say this about Russell Westbrook. I am not so sure right now that I would start Russell Westbrook. I wouldn't upset the apple cart. I like him coming off the bench. I like the role that he is in right now.
Hold on a second.
That's where I'm at.
I love the idea, except for this. When you have to, then who's your bench? Michael Porter Jr. and Peyton Watson?
Yeah.
That's your
Julian
bench?
Strawther. That's about it, right?
You need to have some sort of strength come off your bench.
Yeah.
Oh, no. You got to keep it that way. Adelman might change it. I get it. But then he is really burning gas quickly.
Yeah, although his main guys are going to play 42, 43, 44 minutes tonight.
And I suppose it really doesn't matter who starts. You can start a guy playing for 2 minutes and pull him off.
Of course you can, right.
I totally understand that. Coming up after the break, we're going to switch it up and talk about the Nuggets roommates at Ball Arena. If you thought that Jared Bednar, Chris MacFarland were going to get fired, sorry to disappoint. Somebody did get fired. And you almost have to wonder, was he a scapegoat? Most likely he was. But when you look at the body of this guy's work, might have been better than almost anybody else's in the organization. That's next.
Spice up your next night out at Nola Jane and Lodo. Authentic Cajun cuisine like andouille sausage gumbo with dirty rice, crawfish etouffee, as well as 6 different po' boys like soft-shell crab and shrimp. Come in before or after a game at Ball Arena. Host a party or party on their rooftop deck overlooking Market Street during happy hour from 11 a.m. to 5. Plus, Nola Jane caters, delivers, and the kitchen is open late night. Make Nola Jane your new favorite spot to eat, drink, and party like it's Mardi Gras.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hottakes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Bronco Raptor or nearly $30,000 in cash the weekend of May 23rd. Get finalist entries from 10 a.m. until midnight during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes or by redeeming player points. And all daily cash drawings that don't get picked are eligible for a second chance drawing on Wednesdays, and that can turn into extra cash. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corned bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver. Welcome back. Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. Hey, I want to let you know about Roller Auction. Big auction today. Construction and contracting auction featuring wheel loaders, backhoes, hydraulic excavators, skid steers, dump trucks, water truck pickups, and more. Bidding is started at rollerauction.com. Don't forget to go to rollerauction.com /Mile High Sports /Hot Takes to learn about upcoming auctions. Get what you want at the price you want today at Roller Auction. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Nola Jane in the heart of Lodo. No one does Cajun cuisine better than Nola Jane. Go see why their award-winning menu is the best in town.
I am guessing there are more than a few Avs fans, people in the media, who are disappointed that a higher up, the king and the queen, didn't lose their head, as opposed to, I don't know, the court jester, right? No disrespect to the guy who got fired. I'm not trying to call him a court jester. I mean, after all, in his 8 years on the job, talking about Ray Bennett,
right?
He helped design. Now, granted, it helps to have Makar, McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog, Nichushkin, Lehkonen. Helps to have those guys. Taves. I understand that. But over the last 8 years, top 3 power play in the league over the last 8 years. Once Rantanen got traded, best power play in the league for the rest of the regular season. Let's start it off with Bednar and MacFarland. Could you have made the case that one of them should have lost their job?
Not one that I would have believed in, no.
Yeah.
Not me, anyway. There were plenty of very hot takes on Saturday night.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, social media was like rolling through the latter-day French Revolution off with their heads. It was interesting to me. People have calmed down a little bit now, and I think that I was in that press conference yesterday. I was very curious about how it would be, how it would go. I think that you saw 2 guys in real pain. I think the sting of this loss has stayed with them, as I think it has with everybody in the Avs organization, in that locker room, etc. But I think that they're very bullish on the roster that they have moving forward. It was one with a lot of turnover, especially early in the season.
That had nothing to do with it. These guys were together long enough. They blew 3 third-period leads. This has nothing to do with not enough chemistry or not enough time together.
Oh, I think that they'll be a better team next year with this starting from the beginning. How can you possibly say that when you've had Gabe Landeskog for basically 6 games? Mm-hmm. So you start with Gabe Landeskog, mm-hmm. and then you have essentially this roster coming back intact. Now, I'm with you. That's not an excuse for what happened in this series.
No.
I totally agree with you on that.
Let me ask you. Do you believe you could make the case, because they made so many changes, that this is one of the reasons why they lost?
No, I think the reason they lost is because they were 3 of 22 on the power play.
Okay.
Period.
Now, if somebody would like to make that case, that one of the reasons why they lost is because they brought in a lot of new pieces late in the season, my answer for you is, and this is my mic drop moment for your Vakakta point, well, then how did this lineup that didn't have a lot of time together, how did they have all those third-period leads? How'd that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. But I do think that their feeling, not necessarily mine, although I tend to agree with it, I think, is let's just see what this group looks like. They've got goalkeeping, which they started the season with huge questions with. They seem to have that room taken care of now. They've got Gabe Landeskog coming back, we hope, the healthy version of Gabe Landeskog, which clearly should make them a better team. I think that they felt, this is the message that I felt like I got yesterday, Eric, was they felt like they felt like this was a team like in 22 where they could have won it all, but they didn't get there in their own minds until the spring. They talked very directly about at Christmas time and in the winter, they just weren't good enough. Right. Period. They weren't good enough. So they get to it at one point, and then they come up shy for whatever reasons, and we've talked about a lot of them. I mean, if you believe you're still in the window and you could have done it this year, why in the world would you get rid of the coach and the general manager? Why would that even be an option? If you honestly believe you are smack in the window, and Joe Sakic said it towards the end of the press conference yesterday, anytime that you have a Nathan McKinnon and a Cale Makar, you're in a championship window. My response to that is, yeah, but you've been in that window for 3 years now, and you haven't sniffed even the Western Finals during that time. That would be my pushback for that. I don't know. I feel like the Avs are a clear 100-point team going into next year. They're better in their goalkeeping situation. Their depth is certainly going to be better, and they've got Gabe Landeskog coming back. I think that they're a better team from jump next year.
When your best player says after Game 7, I understand in the heat of the moment,
yep,
there isn't a lot of cool down. Why'd you lose this series? And one of the reasons is bad adjustments. You know a coach is going to lose their job. And then all you have to do is look at the power play.
Yeah.
And again, what this guy did as the coach was fantastic in the regular season. But all eyes are on the playoffs, not all 82 games of the regular season. Even MacFarland, he was asked about what happened. He talked about blowing those third-period leads.
Yep.
But this is the key phrase. Some crucial times where we had to come through, whether it was on the special teams or whatever, whatever is the power play. You could substitute the word whatever for power play or the special teams and the special teams. You know, basically, that's why we lost. Somebody was going to lose their job. I don't think that Jared Bednar has lost this locker room.
No.
Unlike Michael Malone, who I think lost the locker room in some cases for sure.
Yeah.
Then you have the infighting between Calvin Booth and Michael Malone. That was toxic. And once again, Josh Kroenke and Stan made the right move to replace Michael Malone, because I don't think there's any way in hell the Nuggets are up 1-0 against OKC in Oklahoma City with Michael Malone as the head coach. It's not a dig on him.
No.
It's not a dig on his acumen, what kind of guy he is, what kind of coach he is. He had just been there for 10 years, and it was time for a change.
Yeah, I think you're right on target. And we'll see how this Avs move plays out. But if you believe that they have a core in that roster that you can win a championship with, I mean, is it going to surprise us if Dallas ends up in the Stanley Cup final or even wins this thing? I think they're probably the favorites out of the West anyway, right?
Maybe.
I think they are. But
they're playing kind of Winnipeg, aren't they? Now Hellebuck isn't playing well, but
how about the way that they got through St. Louis? How about the scoring with 1.6? That was on in the office on Sunday, and we were paying attention to it. They scored twice in the last minute, including a goal with 1.6 seconds left to get it to overtime, where they needed 2 of them to win. I don't know if there's a reason that people weren't totally buying in on Winnipeg, and Winnipeg kind of flipped them the middle finger and said, yeah, hold my beer. And they're still in it. But do we really think that Winnipeg's going to come out of the West? Maybe they will. I don't know.
I hope they do.
Okay.
I hope they win the whole thing. And it's a very jingoistic reason why. Hellebuck is an American, and there aren't a lot of great American players. And I would love to see him win a Stanley Cup, because when you talk about a Stanley Cup winning team, and you have a dominant goalie, and you have a dominant forward, you're always talking about the goalie. You're always talking about the goalie. So let's say Hellebuck and McKinnon were on the same team, and Hellebuck's goals against average is 1.98, and McKinnon scores a goal in 80% of the games. Who's going to win the Conn Smythe? It might be a toss-up. But all they will do is talk about Hellebuck in that playoff series, to talk about winning, who won the Stanley Cup, but throughout the playoffs. The goalie gets the most attention if the goalie plays great. And I'd like to see an American goalie get a Stanley Cup. That's what
I'd like to see a Canadian team do well in the Stanley Cup too. In these playoffs, we haven't.
Hold on a second. I only want to see Canada do well if they become the 51st state.
Slap a tariff on that one, buddy.
What is the chance that Greenland joins the NHL? That is going to do it for us. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Anything you want to close with, Bruce?
Oh, I can't do anything better than Greenland joining the NHL. Sorry about that.
Which is ironic, considering Greenland is made out of ice and Iceland is all green. Look it up. Google. I believe everything that I read on Google.
Yes.
Make it the best possible day you can.